Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Fan Art Friday. This week I decided to work on a drawing of Faith from Mirror's Edge. I've wanted to work on this drawing for such a long time. I'm a huge fan of the Mirror's Edge games, especially their distinct style. They have that high contrast and that kind of style that you instantly recognise, and I'm really glad that I'm finally working on some fan art. For this drawing I wanted to work on a semi-realistic portrait of Faith with the usual comic panel background that I use in my Fan Art Friday videos, and just following along with that same style that I've recently been using. For the first layer of outlining, I used a 0.05mm sepia coloured Copic multiliner pen. I used this adding some thicker lines to the undersides of the hair, adding some thicker lines along the eyes, the nose and the corners of the mouth, and I made sure to add some thicker lines along the chin and the jaw and the neck, just adding some thicker lines to those features to help with the shading later on. Then it came down to the colouring, and for the colouring of this drawing I used Copic Markers. I started off with the skin tones of this drawing, and for that, to begin with, I wanted to use a pinkish white, just getting the idea of where I wanted to place the shading. Once the first layer of skin tone was added, I then used the light grape and pale grape markers to add some extra shading, and just to help develop the shape of the face. Once I'd placed the main layers of the skin tones down, it was time to add some extra colours over the top to complement them and to add some extra depth. For this I used pale heath, especially around the cheeks, and just to help the areas where you've got to blend between the shaded areas and the highlights. The pale heath worked extremely well for that. To add some extra tones to the skin tones around the nose and around the outside of the mouth and underneath the eyes, I used a blush marker and a tea rose. After that, for the colouring of Faith's eyes, for the whites of the eyes I used a cool grey 3 and 5 to add the shading to them. For the corners of the eyes I used a pure pink, and then for the colouring of the irises I used sand and light walnut. And to help refine the details of the eyes I used a 0.3mm black Copic multiliner pen, just using it to add the eyelashes and adding some details to the corners of the eyes and that kind of thing. To add some extra shading along the right side of the face, I used cool grey 3 and 5, especially on the cheek and around her eyes. For the colouring of Faith's lips, I used a bunch of different colours, adding different layers on top of each other. I used a mixture of light grape, pale grape, blush and cerise. I also used crimson and blended that in with the cerise just to lighten it and not make it look as red as it was initially. Just blending these colours into each other, and then using a Uni-ball Signo broad pigment ink white pen to add highlights to the eyes, the nose and the mouth, just to really push those prominent features forward and to make her face stand out as the important part of this picture. With all of the details of her face coloured, it was time to move on to colouring her hair, and for that I used a mixture of black, cool grey 7 and cool grey 5. Starting off by using the black Copic marker and making sure to leave some areas for highlights, and then using the cool grey 7 to blend into those areas, and then the cool grey 5 to blend even further and just add the rest of the colouring to those highlighted areas. And that's all that the hair required in terms of colouring. To add some extra details to it afterwards, I then used the black Copic multiliner pen again, adding some lines around the outside, adding some stray hairs across Faith's face and around some of the outer edges of the drawing, just to add to that realism and to show the hair kind of moving in the wind. After that, for the final part of the colouring, I had to add the background. I wanted to keep it nice and simple, just to keep the focus on Faith's face. So for the background colouring I used ice blue, and kind of added some extra layers over the parts that I wanted to add some darker shading to. I wanted to give like an outline of some buildings in the background. Over the top of that, to add some outlines around those background buildings, I used a holiday blue. And then to add some clouds in the sky I used a white Prismacolor pencil. I then also used the Uni-ball highlighter pen again to add the outlines around those buildings to make them kind of stand out a little bit. And then in the same style as Mirror's Edge I wanted to add some kind of shafts of red just kind of streaking downwards, and just I placed a layer of crimson over the top of the background. I think it was quite nice in effects to place the blue first and then place the crimson over the top of that, and it was quite a kind of a transparent effect. I was really pleased with that. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but I think it works well. Then, as the final stage, I used the black multiliner pen again to add some outlines around those red areas, and to add a thick black border around the comic panel. After that, the drawing was completed. Overall, I think it took about 4 hours to complete, from the initial outlining to the colouring and the outlining. It was really fun to work on, and I'm so glad that I finally worked on some Mirror's Edge fan art. Please let me know what you think of this drawing in the comments below, and if you have any more suggestions for future videos, then please let me know in the comments as well. I read through your suggestions every week, and it really helps with planning these drawings. If you enjoy videos like this, then make sure to subscribe, and any likes or shares in this video are hugely appreciated, and it means so much to me, and it really helps the channel out. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and follow along with the progress photos throughout the week, then be sure to check out the links in the description box below. And once again, thank you so much for the support on this channel. It means so much to me, and I can't wait to work on some more drawings. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you all soon.